morning and welcome to Bolton. I'm Joyce Stilley, the Administrative Officer for the Town of Bolton, and this is a live show done the first and the third Tuesdays of each month from 10:30 to 11 a.m. The show is rebroadcast on the second and fourth Tuesdays at the same time period. The show is a continuing effort to promote open communications within the community, and if you have an upcoming event or an organization you would like to get some PR out about, or just have a question as to how town government operates, please contact me at the town hall and we will try to get a show on the air that covers that topic. As we're moving into summer, the town never sleeps, and we actually have been working on some economic development options over the years. And today we're going to talk about a specific effort that is not just Bolton, it's actually a four-town. So I'm going to introduce my guests first. Patrice Carson, the Director of Community Development for Bolton, and Sadie Colcord, who is the Municipal Services Associate for Circ. And we're going to find out what Circ means also. So Patrice, let's start with you. And the title of the show is Creation of a Regional Economic Development Action Plan. What the heck is that?
Well, good morning, Joyce, and thanks for having us on and talking about economic development, as it's always a big topic of conversation in town. The four towns, Tolland, Mansfield, Coventry, and Bolton, have all done a lot of economic development plans for their towns individually. And over the years, we have a lot of plans that have sort of been put on the shelf, if you will. The towns got together and decided regionally maybe they could be bigger than just individually. So we decided to create this committee and hire a consultant to take the plans and sort of look at what's in them and create an action plan for all the towns. Some of the things will be for the individual towns themselves. Some of the things will be for the towns to do together in order to help booster, if you will, economic development in our small four-town region. We've done some things together with Coventry in the past, and we recently did some things with those four towns regarding gateways, but this is to focus more on the economic development opportunities that each town has individually and together.
And in the past, Bolton and the other three towns have actually applied for the Regional Performance Initiative grants, RPI grants, for exactly this, but we'd never been successful, and those grant funds have since gone away. But each town then felt this was an important topic and has committed some funding to be able to move forward with this.
Each town has, and our hope is that once that's done and we do have an action plan, then maybe if some of those items require grant opportunities, those will be identified and the towns can apply. And usually when you apply on a regional level or more than an individual town, you're given more points, if you will, toward becoming successful for a grant.
So how did we wind up with Circ?
Well, the four towns got together and felt that they needed some professional help to be able to culminate all of the things that we have and put them together. And so we put out a request for proposals, and we had several interviews with different firms, and Circ was our choice based on their response and the interview that we had with them. And we're happy that Sadie is going to be representing Circ for the most part and working with us.
So Sadie, welcome.
Thank you, Joyce.
First, let's talk about what is Circ, because
Sure.
a lot of people hear Circ or see the letters, but they don't really know what Circ is or what you do.
Sure. So Circ, the Connecticut Economic Resource Center, is a statewide nonprofit that provides economic development services kind of through a variety of different ways. So we were recently brought on as a partner to the State Department of Economic and Community Development to provide services for the state on business recruitment internationally and domestically, as well as business retention within the state. We provide business services to kind of advice and technical assistance on licensing and registration to businesses, And then we have a research department that does research for municipalities, for different organizations that hire us to do things like market studies, feasibility analyses. And then finally, we have the Municipal Services Department, which is the department that I'm in. And we work directly with municipalities across the state to provide economic development services, both in planning for economic development and implementation of economic development strategies.
And we did actually have Circ, we were talking about just before the show, with the town of Coventry came in and had a program by Circ for EDC and P&Z members.
Right, yeah, we provide kind of a fundamentals of municipal economic development course for free to any town in Connecticut that is looking to get some guidance for their municipal staff, land use boards and commissions, business owners, even just engaged citizens to come in and just learn about, what does good economic development look like for your community.
And certainly in these 4 towns, some people may say, well, Bolton's not like Coventry, Coventry is not like Mansfield, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But how is this going to move forward?
Sure. Based on what we've talked about so far, we believe that there are kind of some key regional strengths that already exist in terms of shared industries like agriculture, recreation, arts and culture. So those are things that we're definitely going to want to focus on in the creation of this economic development action plan, but also kind of digging a little deeper as we're meeting with key stakeholders in the communities to find out what other industries are shared strengths within the region, and then creating a plan to kind of build upon those.
And with that, you're not going to meet, obviously, with the whole community. Each community has its own individual work, too. And I don't know which one of you would like to talk about that.
Well, the way we had set it up is there will be an individual town meeting with each of the 4 towns that Circ will provide, and basically chair the meeting and sort of hear from stakeholders. And from the town of Bolton, we put together sort of a subcommittee that'll be representatives of the Board of Selectmen, Planning and Zoning, Economic Development, and some key staff members who would be working on some of these items. The other towns, I'm not sure if Sadie knows if those committees have been formed yet, but each town will do their own committee, meet with Circ, and then after that, I believe we're going to have a joint meeting of all the 4 towns, which will be probably in the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
And where do we start? Or where do you start?
So one of the first things we're going to do is review all of the plans and studies that have been done by all 4 towns on economic development, transportation, infrastructure, kind of synthesizing all that information and kind of getting some key themes that keep arising out of those. And then also doing, the individual town meetings to kind of ascertain the key opportunities and the challenges that the different towns are facing. Then we bring the full group together at the end of September, where we'll, kind of look more broadly at the region as a whole and get representatives from all 4 towns together to talk about, what do we envision for the future of the region. And then, we put it all together with, the research that we've done, the meetings that we've had. We're going to be having ongoing individual meetings with key stakeholders in the community. So really just trying to get that feedback from, community members, businesses, municipal officials and staff, just the whole gamut.
So part of it is to support the business community and help grow commerce in our grant list, our commercial grant list. But really, it's also to maintain our current businesses too. The last thing any of us want to do is to lose businesses to another town.
Right. And I think, obviously this is a great start, even just getting the businesses that are in town engaged in this process goes a long way to show them that, the communities are committed to making, this region the right place for them and supporting them in the best way that they can, and showing them that this regional economic development action plan, we're trying to take their desires and their challenges into consideration as we're making it.
And it really is, for a town like Bolton, we will never get, nor do we necessarily want, a Lowe's or a Home Depot, a big box type
Right.
store.
Right.
But for, Tolland or Mansfield, something like that might be more appropriate.
Right.
So it's really, how can we work together to make sure that we all succeed,
Right.
but we're not really competing against each other.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes too, Joyce, in that regard, when the businesses are brought together or talked to, they discover another business that maybe does something ancillary to what they do, and they can work together. Sometimes they never even know about them, even if they're just right across the border in the next town. So this may help that.
And key for the entire area is we're so close to Yukon that there's a lot of opportunities potentially associated with Yukon.
Right. Yeah, we certainly want to sit down with, key Yukon staff. We're actually working with Mansfield on a separate project right now where we've been regularly engaging with Yukon, so we already have kind of a foot in the door there. So we want to talk with them about how the towns might be able to get involved in their workforce needs, or Yukon can help the towns with workforce needs. Looking at, opportunities for development related to Yukon, whether that's, some businesses coming out of Yukon or just, additional space that Yukon might need. Additionally, maybe looking at the potential for, the group as a whole investing in some infrastructure projects or something along those lines that would be beneficial to Yukon included. So yeah, just trying to figure out, where there's a need and where there's a good match for the towns to work more closely with Yukon.
And certainly because of our close proximity, we know that we have people who work at Yukon that live here. And just even trying to meet their needs of leakage, where are they going for things? So that's key to this as well.
That's a great opportunity, absolutely.
It's also, to look at, the towns are quite historic in this area. Bolton in 2020 will just be celebrating our 300th anniversary. So our historic and recreational amenities are key to potential future projects and what we can possibly put out there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly figuring out the best way to market the cultural and the recreational assets, because tourism is something that's big for this area. So putting together a brand, we'll probably be making recommendations for a brand for the region that not only will kind of convey a message to businesses, but also to visitors on what the region is all about, and promote that identity of historic, lots of cultural amenities, recreational amenities, lots of open space, agriculture. These are all things that we certainly would want to promote with this brand, and just beyond in the general marketing efforts that we'll help you guys with.
And key to this too is we already, with those other towns as well as other towns, we're part of a health district. That's the Eastern Highlands Health District. We just completed the Eastern Gateways Study. We've completed a Route 6 Regional Economic Development Council has done a study, and it's the Hop River Corridor. We've just done a trail with Coventry, that's the Nathan Hale Greenway. So we've got a lot of bits and pieces, and I'm not sure that people, I know when we talk about greenways, it's like, now, which one is this? Because you start to get confused. And I'm hoping that through this, we can all agree on something that we will tie us together.
Right, and even just bringing together the different organizations that are working on, different trails and kind of different cultural assets in the community, bringing them together to just talk and think about ideas of ways that we can collaborate better, I think that'll be, very valuable.
Well, it's that strategic partnership
Right.
that, we might discuss it at staff levels, but have we gone beyond that?
Right.
And as you would know, not very often.
Not very often, no, and we tend to do it more internally, even if it is maybe at a commission level. There's not a lot of people that come to commission meetings who maybe the word gets out like that, and I think sometimes when you try to do things with other communities, you get to be on a bigger stage, more word gets out, more people get involved, and maybe some new ideas are formed too.
And it really, the 44 corridor is wide open for opportunities. For Bolton, that's actually, we're less than 10% commercial, and 65% of that is already on Route 44.
Right.
And then Route 6 is our second one, and 85 is kind of the smallest of our possible corridors. So let's talk about what challenges do you foresee with this? Have you had an opportunity to really look at any of our information yet? I know this is all kind of quick and new.
Yes.
I had Patrice lined up before, but you just got the phone call yesterday, so I'll share that with everybody so that you can say, I don't know.
No, I mean, I'll say, just, we're going to be meeting with a lot of different organizations, stakeholders in the communities. So trying to, and there are going to be a lot of different opinions. So just trying to kind of take all those opinions and put them into one pretty package with a bow on it. That certainly is going to be a challenge. And then the other thing, we're obviously going to be making some recommendations on sources for funding for some of the projects. So just thinking about, how we prioritize, the certain projects, because every town, wants certain projects to be done. So, thinking about that strategically on what's going to be best for the region as a whole, that'll be a challenge, but I think it's, really, really important as well. So.
And, we've talked about trying to do things jointly with Coventry at the town line. And part of that was actually looking to share both sides, sharing the development costs and then sharing the tax revenue. And that certainly is something that can come from this, and Circ, I'm sure, has experience in those type of ventures
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, we worked actually with the town of Putnam. They did a regional tech park where the towns in the region were actually able to buy parcels within the tech park, and then they split up the tax revenue based on, what percentage of the parcels each of the towns own. So yeah, we've certainly had, that kind of regional experience, where towns can really work together to the benefit of all of them. So.
And Tolland has a tech part
Right.
in part of their planning process
Yes.
already.
I believe they have a technology zone which provides additional incentives for technology businesses that locate within it. So that certainly is going to be something that we'll dig further into as a potential, key industry area for the region.
Well, and part of the challenge for the towns is what we have, just even for utilities available. Is there sewer? Right. Is there water? Is there gas? Or what are we talking about? And that can have a large impact as to what type of business you're bringing in as well.
Yeah, and I mean, just going back to the whole idea of looking for grants, we'll be obviously providing recommendations on that, and probably much of that will revolve around, hopefully getting some more infrastructure in key areas that could expand with, additional water, sewer capacity and whatnot.
So from your perspective, what's going to be Bolton's challenges with this?
Well, I think from our perspective, it will probably be infrastructure for the most part. We do have very limited sewer capacity. We really have no public water. We do have gas, and that, again, that's in limited areas. So, you'll have to be creative with what kind of businesses come in. They won't be able to probably be high water use type businesses, but there are certainly many businesses that operate on septic and well. So I think it's a matter of sort of coming up with that creative list and seeing what can happen. I don't think we're alone there, though. Coventry, I
Right.
think, is limited in the same capacity. Probably, I'm not really sure about Tallinn, but I'm assuming Mansfield has more sewer and water available than we do. But I think also maybe thinking outside the box, and like you talked about the Putnam Park, you know, maybe there's an opportunity where something is located and we all get to share in that, either in the costs and the benefits of it. It's not something I've thought about from the Bolton standpoint before.
And that's, you know, it all comes down to the dollars.
Sure.
No matter what we do, it always comes down to the dollars.
Absolutely.
And from Circ's perspective, do you see grants improving as far as availability for towns to undertake? I think the regional approach always
Right.
has a higher priority.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I mean, I think to add to kind of the argument as to why this region should receive the grants, right, the state is definitely going to look at the fact that you've already kind of invested in bringing in a consultant to, you know, make some strides on economic development in the region, and are just working together. So that certainly is key. And, you know, we're hopeful that we'll see some more grants coming out of the state and the federal government as well in the near future. So we'll certainly keep our eyes peeled and let you all know.
Well, the state finally achieved becoming you have to get something federally, you have to become an economic development district.
Yes.
And finally finish that process, I believe, in the last year.
Yes.
And that was something that towns couldn't do something about before, and that added to the challenge.
Yes, definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about the time frame of this. This you just within the last couple of weeks, correct?
Right. I think we made our choice. It was in the end of last month, and we've had our initial meeting with the four towns staff and Circ to sort of set up the time frame and set up the kinds of things, contract, you know, those kind of things. But the time frame was under a year. We're shooting for, I believe it's 9 months, and hopefully to have something in place, you know, before the end of next summer.
Without me.
You'll have to come back and see all the strides we've made, Joyce.
Just read the report.
We'll email it to you.
Yes.
Can't take that big. No, but, you know, Circ is an excellent partner in this. I think your work throughout the state is going to be important with this. And, you know, for other studies, I think people have perhaps gone to some Circ information and pulled it to put into some of these reports, but Circ itself was not an active part of them. So this is kind of an interesting turnaround now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
And you've done similar type projects like this before throughout the state.
Right.
So we're just another check, right?
I think regionalism, if you will, we're small in this case, not a large region, but regionalism is sort of becoming a trend word, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. The governor's office speaks about it a lot. We regionalize in some of just the service sharing that we do. So I think it's helpful in a lot of ways, and I think partnering with somebody like Circ will definitely benefit Bolton and the other towns.
And Circ, over the years, your staffing level has, you didn't used to have a municipal focus a few years back either.
The Municipal Services Department just got started, I think, about 3 years ago now, so we're pretty new. But.
So we're coming down towards the end of the show, so I'll let each of you give a couple-minute closing thoughts. Patrice, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm just happy that we were able to do this with the other 4 towns. This is a very minimal cost to each of the towns to be able to employ Circ to do this. I think our businesses will get something out of it because I think we'll be reaching out to a lot of them. Some of them we probably haven't talked to in a while, so it'll be good to get them up and noticed. And I'm looking forward to working with Circ and a great outcome for the 4-town region.
So thanks so much for bringing us on board. We're very, very excited to be working on a regional project because this, like Patrice said, it's kind of a an up and coming trend almost within the state. But a lot of towns are thinking about doing something like this. So the fact that you guys are kind of putting this into action is very, very exciting. So yeah, we're glad to be working on this project with you, and we look forward to helping you retain and even expand your commercial base because that's kind of the goal of this all is supporting and growing the businesses that are in your towns and also attracting visitors. So we're happy to be here.
And so, I'm just going to review a little bit about what you each said, that it's really marketing, but it's cross-promotional between the communities as well. How can we sell our region? And how can we capitalize on things that we have or some new thoughts that may fit us that we haven't even thought of yet, but are out there. And leveraging that growth of Yukon and trying to meet their needs as well. And certainly the strategic partnerships and implementing in action, coming up with grant opportunities, all necessary to help us move forward. Did I catch it all?
I think
Yes,
so.
I think so.
I think so.
I have cheat notes, you don't.
Yeah. Just to stress that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to take the wheel we've already invented and put it into action.
Well, and that's very key. Sometimes people say, another study.
Yeah.
It's just going to go here on this shelf and we're never going to see it again. And that's not the focus of this.
Not
The
at all.
focus of this is let's take all the good work that's been done before, compile it together to build a plan to actually move us forward.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better,
No,
right?
you couldn't. Sure you're retiring?
Yes. So thank you both very much for joining me today on the show. I have a couple of other items that with this week, the heat that is certainly out there, if you have special needs and need to get cooled down, drink lots of fluids, stay inside in the shade. But if you need to get someplace cool, visit any one of our town facilities. Go to Town Hall, go to the Senior Center, go to the library, and take advantage of those buildings. We would love to see you. And if you have any special needs or are concerned about somebody, please contact us at the Town Hall as well. The next show will actually be Jim Rupert. We're actually moving into hurricane season, so Jim, as Emergency Management Director, will be here to talk about, how to be prepared and where the town stands on that. And this week there are no other meetings. We're in the heat of summer, so some of the boards and commissions schedules slow down a little bit. But I encourage you to sign up for the Bolton Bulletin to stay in contact with what is going on in town. And as always, thank you to Community Voice Channel for its continued support. And I will see you in 2 weeks.